Okay, before this video starts, you probably noticed this is a really long video, and all I want to say is, if you have clips and builds you want to show off to the class, remember to submit it in my Discord, and the links will be in the description for my Twitch, Discord, and Twitter if you ever want to message me anything or watch my live streams, so just remember that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and my goal is to make PvP miserable, so let loose, class. Okay, so I'm gonna go over a lot of builds that's gonna break the game and show you how awful the meta currently is, and there's a lot of variety if you want to be annoying. One of them is, if you really want to be annoying, you can go with firebolt grenades and spam an on touch of flame, and then you also put on embers of ashes to increase the scorch stacks to your target, and then you can put on something like ember of eruption. Your solar ignitions have increased area of effect, and it's gonna make a lot of big explosions. But let's talk about weapon choices here. Because this is why I don't like this current meta. It's because I can just do this. Float outside. Oh, look, there's a target. Bam, bam, bam. The main thing about warlocks currently is either long range or going balls deep. So I can choose to go Stormcaller, and then I can just sprint at him like this. And of course, Bungie did say they're gonna nerf this and make it so it doesn't one-shot as consistent, but they're gonna increase the damage of it overall. So it's gonna do more damage, but it won't one-shot him as consistent. Of course, if there's multiple targets, it's gonna one-shot him, but this is a very awkward spot to do it. Let's show it off in a corner, because it's more consistent right there. As you saw, I one-shot him there. If there's walls for the arcs to ricochet, it will one-shot him most of the time. And for warlocks, you do really have a lot of utility. You can really just use anything and you will actually do well with it. Now, I want to show you this one. Let me throw my grenades right here. Let's see the range of this. That's gonna freeze. Look how fast it is, of course. And also, you can notice that it chains. I can also do this to freeze him. Oh, I have the wrong rift on. That's awkward. Okay. If I wasn't using Bleak Watcher... Now, if I wasn't using Bleak Watcher and Freeze Rift instead, I could have done that instead. But look, this poor Guardian don't have any options to do against it. I can do that as well. Bam. My turret killed him. And on top of that, Stasis Warlock has the strongest super in the game. So I can just do this. Bam. Oh, he's... Did you see that? I hit him. I hit him. And also Warlock has a really good melee. That's quite far. Now let me show you Le Monarque. This is with Ophidian Aspect. Don't you think this is really fast? How I can spam my bow this fast? My bad, that was without Ophidian Aspect. Let me do this. It's slightly faster. But I think the worst part is the fact that it's a lightweight bow that does more damage than any other lightweight bow. Mainly because of the poison, right? So, I can do that. And look how much damage it's taken him. Now, if I wasn't an Emprift, I would have ticked him even more. 170, that's gonna kill him. And that's a 2 Reasal Guardian, of course. So, that's not gonna happen at 99% of the time. Another annoying exotic to play against is Boots of the Assembler, but I can't really show it because I don't have any teammates on my team, so I'm not gonna. Another annoying ability on Warlock is Chal of the Old Gods, and to be fair, it's not really that broken, it's just the fact that I can do this. GG's. And the area is really wide, and also it can go into a lot of tight angles. Now, I'm not going to say this is the most broken ability, it's a really annoying ability. But this is where I think it takes the cake. Everyone is talking about how shit Strand Warlock is, right? How mid it is. But what I can do, of course, this is not... Guys, guess what? The grenade one-shots. The melee one-shots 99% of the time. And even if you think it's really mid or bad that you have to use your grenade energy on it, the fact that it one-hits people, I think is pretty good. Like, look. It kills them every time. Strand is really good. The super is slept on, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's not gonna kill him, but the super is really slept on. No. But let's talk about a build I've thought really well about. Now, it says I don't have an exotic boot for this, but I do. Let me pull them real quick. This is nothing you're gonna see in your average lobby, but if you actually find someone who are good and competent with their exotic of choices, they know how to use this well. So what I would do, I would find an engagement, then I would pop my Emperor, and then I would start shooting. And every time I get a kill, guess what happens? My health goes to full, and you want to see how much damage this does? Okay, watch this. It basically has a really fast TTK, a lot faster than, yeah, what you're normally gonna see. But if the connection isn't really good like it is right now, because, yeah, there's basically no delay on this. Probably has the strongest connection you're ever gonna see in a lobby. But if it wasn't for a good connection, what you're gonna notice a lot with Tommy's is that it ghosts a lot of people. There's a lot of ghost bullets with it. So you're just suddenly gonna insta-kill people without you realizing, because you've been shooting them for like 10 years. But let's talk about the meta for Warlock currently. Depending on whatever the Trials map is, or whatever map you get in comp, you have a few weapon options. I'm not gonna show off every single 150. I'm gonna show off one 150. And then, of course, you have Hung Jury, which I showed off in the beginning. It's the fact that Warlocks can just float around as much as they want, and then just be chillin', because, you know, there's not really any class in the game that can counter air movement except for Warlock. Of course, Suspend will counter it, but if it wasn't such a shitty spawn. See, this is the thing about Warlocks in particular. They have air movement, so they can float around really high up, and then they can just do this. That's faster than any Hankin can kill, by the way, because it shoots faster than what a normal 140 would. That's why it has a 140. See, it's slightly faster than what you normally would see, but you know, it's not gonna make too big of a difference. Of course, I'm not getting flinched back, so that is another thing. And another perk in particular that's annoying is explosive payload and time payload. These two perks are really, really good because it flinches the target so they can't shoot back. And you're gonna notice that a lot moving forward. Once the next season comes out, you're probably gonna see a lot of this whenever you see stuff like that getting nerfed, like Immortal or 750 SMGs. For some of my weapon choices, I would probably run something like Hung Jury with Borrowed Time. Now you're wondering, why do you choose Borrowed Time out of every single SMG in the energy slot? Okay, look how much it's moving. This is me controlling the recoil. Now let's take a look at this. The recoil is a lot stronger on the Aikilos SMG after the nerf. Like, a lot. So you're gonna notice it, unless you're running something like Dynamic Sway Reduction. It makes it slightly better, but in reality I just think it feels better to use something like Borrowed Time. It feels steadier than the Aikilos SMG by a lot, huge margin, I'm gonna be honest. That's what I've been running for this weekend in Trials. Actually, I've been running No Time to Explain with Borrowed Time. That's my Trials loadout for the week. But I've noticed I'm getting outclassed whenever you see Le Monarch and Hung Juries in the lobby. Now, I can go over a lot of builds. A lot of builds that's gonna be annoying. Like, I have another world, or you can have the Stag, where you basically take no damage. Karnsteins, which are really good. Let me show off this. Now, if I wanted to use something like Karnsteins, right, I would be on Strained Warlock and do something like this. And let me show you what that looks like without doing what I just did. So what a normal melee fight should look like is this. That's a little bit faster. That's a little bit slower, don't you think? Than this. Literally all you do is you press, Let me try this on controller. Actually, never mind. Literally all you do is you press melee, jump, melee. And it, for some reason, cancels out the melee animation, so it goes a lot faster. Of course, it might be a little bit inconsistent sometimes, but that's because it's definitely not intended to do this. The only time you really notice it being a little bit inconsistent is when you're actually locking onto a target. If you don't lock onto the target 100%, you're gonna do this. And if you really want to get on someone's nerves, one thing you can do, let's just show off this. I gotta make sure I don't kill the subject, you know? Basically, if you want to be really annoying on Arc Warlock, you can run No Time, for example. And basically, you kind of just do this. So you don't really have to shoot him whatsoever. So, some exotics I would recommend trying out if you want to be really annoying is Stag, Eye of Another World, Getaway Artist, Osteomancy, even Controverse Holds. They are really good for what they can be used for. You have to make a little bit of adjustments to your build if you want to use these, but in reality, they're really, really strong. And this should work with every single grenade in the game. Yep, that's one grenade. That is one grenade. And also, you need to remember, Controverse Holds give you grenade energy back based on how much damage you're doing. So you can run something like, you know, Handheld Supernova and BAM! I know I'm running Mayhem, but you will get most of your grenade back. Probably half, if not more. And you saw how weak they were. Basically one shot. Of course, this is going to take away some of your discipline. But you know, it's pretty good. I think I've showed most stuff on Warlock. Of course, you can run something like Chromatic Fire with Outbreak. And this should be a lot better than what you think. Because it adds an effect. As you can see, there was a strand explosion on top of that all the nanites spawn. Now, if I had multiple test subjects, I could have shown you probably one of the biggest multi-kills of your life by simply just killing one target. And of course, this works with Ace of Spades. And once you get a kill with Ace, you proc Mori. And once you proc Mori, it's game over, especially with an exotic like this. Now, probably one of my most favorite builds are Boots of the Assembler, but I can't show all this off, sadly. Or, if you really want to be that guy, I didn't miss out on you, Rain of Fire. And then you can throw off something like, you know, Vex Mythoclast on Solar Warlock, and all of a sudden, you're chillin'. You can also run this, which I think is pretty cool. I've seen a lot of goofy stuff on different classes, but this probably takes the cake. All you do is proc Heat Rises, snap the target, and then Shatter Dive, and they should most likely ignite. And then on top of that, you can run something like Vex Mythoclast with Rain of Fire, and then boom. Guess what happened? I got the Rampage buff going, and I got Radiant. So, next kill is gonna hit for 47 a headshot. And looking at for what it was started as, 34 to 47, I'd say that's a pretty good increase. Now, I don't know about you. And then on top of that, Vex Mythoclast has this funny thing where you can basically get an LFR, aka Arbalest, aka Lorenz Driver back. And you one-shot everyone. So you can just fly around. Okay, this is awkward. He should have died. That's all I want you to know. He should have died. But yeah, you can run Rain of Fire with like something like Ember of Ashes. And on top of that, Ember of Char with something like Firebolt Grenades, Incinerator Snap, and Phoenix Dive. On top of that, you have something like Rain of Firebolts, Flare Up. And then on top of that, you can also run Touch of Flame with Heat Rises. So, if you can live without Icarus Dash, which is really hard for me, and it's also going to remove the effect of Rain of Fire, but if you can live with this, you're going to do a lot of stupid stuff, like your grenades dealing a little bit too much Scorch. Now he has 90 Scorch. If I ran something like this weapon, Skyburner's Oath, all I had to do is hit him twice like that, and he's really close to being dead. So let me do that again and show that off. Isn't that beautiful? And on top of that, the reason I think Skyburner's Oath is pretty good, it's because you can do something like this with it. Okay, that's an awkward position. But it's the same as any other 150 scout rifle. I'd actually consider Skyburner's to be the best one in the game. Now you're thinking, are you crazy? I know this mode is pretty garbage, but it's still a 150 that 3 taps. You need to remember that one. And also, it scorches like crazy. Back on Arc Warlock, we can't forget about Dead Messenger. It's still a really good option for what you can do with it. But I'm coming back to more of this stuff on other classes, because I'm just starting with Warlocks. But personally, I would run the long-range melee if it wasn't for that the short-range melee has a faster cooldown. Because you can always do this on Arc Warlock, remember that. That's never gonna be patched or changed in any way possible. Bam. It's really odd hearing that sound now, the fact that, you know. The cool thing about this weapon, you've probably never seen this in a long time. It's the fact that it does a lot of damage. And if you can hit your shots, you can hot swap basically. Now I know Le Monarque does this better and more efficient, but it's still a really good option. Now sadly, I don't think you can one-shot... Okay. It depends on their resilience, but you can one-shot people with this weapon. And then of course, if you get Radiant, it's an easy one-shot. Now I'm gonna damage him a little bit, now I'm gonna wait for him to regen, and then once he regens, I'm gonna do the funny to him. Keep in mind, this is a tier 2 resilience world. Oh my god, it ran out too fast. Anyway, you go Radiant and then bam, dink someone in the head with it. Of course, like I said, it depends on the resilience, but I'm gonna be using this tier 2 resilience guardian as a test subject. One thing I really like to do is run Swashbuckler on my hand cannon, and then of course I freeze someone with my Empowering Rift freeze, and then I punch him once, and now I have Swashbuckler times 5, so if I want to, I can 2-tap the next guardian until it runs out like that. I'm just coming up with the most stupid ideas just for you guys to have the most miserable time in PvP. That's the whole point of this video. And I'm making this mainly because I want Bungie to, you know, make a small few changes so everything isn't overly broken. Because I have a lot of playtime in PvP, and from what I've experienced, there's definitely some things that needs to be changed, and my main focus for this video is this weapon.
30 seconds stand between you and victory.
Anyway, I'm pretty sure this is it. If I missed something, let me know in the comments, and I'm gonna go over to Hunter now. I'm gonna keep showing this off in Mayhem, only because I don't want to wait 10 decades on my super abilities to recharge whenever I swap between them. But I think Hunters are in a really awkward state right now. Like, their most used exotics are Wormhusk, Umkara, and I'm trying to think, and Stompies. Now, I have a few, you know, exotics I want to show off a little bit, but most of them, you know, are not the greatest. Now, I'm gonna start with this one mainly because of how annoying it is, and if you didn't know, if you ever proc your super inside of PvP, swap to Rygern's Harness, and what you can do is basically go around forever. Oh. Blocking. You don't lose any ability of blocking. And what you can do on top of that is do this. And now you're fast. You got Stompies, and, you know, the Rygern's buff is still on top of you. Now, one of my favorite exotics in the game is probably gonna be Gemini Jesters. This gives you a really big advantage, more than what people think. It's mainly because, you know, it basically removes your enemy's radar. So what you can do is BAM! And then what you can do on top of that is run like triple dynamo if you want to just play really slow and passive and then get your, you know, your super fast. All you do is do that. And for the enemy, it's basically a white flash. They lose their radar, and you know, since you go invisible on top of that, especially if you play in Void, you can just do this, and then suddenly they're dead. Now, of course, this is not how it's going to play out in a normal lobby, but I'm trying to just show you a little bit of what it looks like for you when you use these things. Now, this is my most hated exotic in the game, Young Umkara Spine, and let's put on the stupidest knives in the game, proxy knives. I hate these knives so much because that did 100 damage. Okay, that's not cool. They do a lot of damage. And for what they do, it's pretty ridiculous. Okay. Let me just show off the blast radius of this exotic. I almost got my grenade back. I got half my grenade back. And depending on how much damage you do, the more of your grenade you're getting back. And it's just really annoying to play against. Let's just say what you can do is that, and they blow up. You can also do this on Void to be really annoying with spike and smoke bombs, but you know, you can also do it on Void. It's been a thing since D1, and I don't think they're ever gonna patch this, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Literally all you do is you do melee grenade, and you know, they just die. This is my most reliable handcannon in the game currently that's not an exotic, aka Hawkmoon, aka Ace of Spades, aka Thorn, aka Lumina, but the thing about this weapon is it has more range than you'd think, even if you look at it, right? It looks really awful. It has steady hand, it has steady rounds, chambered, slide, rangefinder, stability masterwork. The thing that feels really nice about this, it doesn't really move whatsoever. I can compare this to something like a Dire Promise that I have in my vault, I think. And as you can see already, it bounces a lot more. And remember, these both used to be lightweight handcannons, but that's how much stability actually matters in the game. I even put counterbalance stock for it to not to go up so much, but it still does. And the good thing about this weapon, look how much less it bounces. And it puts you right back. Now, Dire Promise doesn't actually do this, I'm pretty sure. It does, but just slower. Another handcannon of my choice is probably going to be this weapon. I haven't gone into stability on this one, but I've gone into... Never mind, I've gone into stability on this one. But I've gone more into... Never mind, okay. I guess my Osring is just better. I'm just stupid. Okay, now let's talk about Wormhusk. I like Wormhusk mainly because what I can do is I take damage, boom, back health. And one combo I like to use with Wormhusk is Last Word. I love using Last Word with Wormhusk. It's mainly because I can engage and then I also have the ability to heal. Because, you know, my shots aren't the best with Last Word on mouse and keyboard. But when it hits, it hits. And let me tell you, people have gone really upset in the past by me actually just shitting on them with Last Word. Because it has a really fast TTK. Now, there isn't too much I can say about Hunters, except for most of the things that's annoying about Hunters is gunplay. Because that's kind of what Hunter's base is around of, right? So, this is where it gets a little bit annoying. If any of you guys have played in the past, you know that Le Monarque is currently a little bit broken. And a little bit, I mean best weapon in the game by far, no other weapons compete. What you can do is run triple Void Loader with Oathkeepers, and guess what? You can jump around freely, and on top of that, you never have to worry about the poison running out. I can run for as much as I want, I can walk for as much as I want, and the poison will still affect the target. Now, I can also jump, and I will have perfect AE all the time. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. I can put on high jump to go as high as possible as I can into the air. I have 100 mobility, so this is the highest I can go without stompies. And look at this. It literally doesn't matter. I can go as far away as possible. It has literally perfect AE. There's no other things in the game that can compete with this, because I have free air movement, and I have perfect AE, and I have infinite charge time on the bow, plus I can also take away 20 mobility because this gives me a lightweight buff. Yes, Luminarch gives you +2 mobility, stat-wise, so you can run 8 mobility with this and still you're not gonna have any drawbacks. And also it does the most damage out of any bow in the game. Of course, hunters have a lot of good exotics, and there's a lot of good exotics I want to show off. But personally, none of them really compete with, you know, the ones I just showed off. Stompies, of course, is always going to be a good option to run around with, and they're not really bad at all. But what you can do is run with something like Foe Tracer. And let me just show off what Foe Tracer can do. Look, I see him through the wall. Okay, I forgot. I don't have Luminarch. I don't have Oath Keepers on. I forget. But I see him through the wall, and he doesn't take more damage. But the point is, if he is marked and he is critically wounded, he's gonna take more damage. So let me just make him. This is really awkward. Fortress gives you wall hacks. And it also, quote-unquote, gives you a small benefit to airborne effectiveness on all setup, all weapons, and it also deals more damage to low health targets. Probably one of my favorite hunter exotics in the game is this one. Because, look at my radar. I always have a radar up, even when I'm hard scoping with a sniper. It's really nice to have. So if you're not running Ace of Spades, which always have this active, what you can do is run this. And you're always gonna have a radar, so you always know where the enemy is. So it can be like, bam, 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 you know? Okay. Real talk. This is where I crossed the line. I have a really big issue with Suspend in PvP. Even bigger, okay, Stasis Warlock, it's a little bit overtuned, but, you know, Suspend is probably one of the most annoying abilities in the game. Because you have free range to just, you know, suspend people, and it has a really big blast radius. It goes for the same on Titans, so I'm not going to go into suspending too much on Titan, but it's really annoying. Now, on Hunter, you also have something like Revenant. And Revenant is really good, especially with Duskfill grenades. Look how big that is. Just look how big that is. It blocks so much. It literally blocks the whole lane. They can't push out here whatsoever because, you know, they lose. They're also buffing shurikens next season, so that's going to be really nice. So, I would consider, personally, if it wasn't for Armkara right now, Stasis would be the best Hunter subclass in the game. Except for that, I don't think I have too much more about Hunter, if I'm gonna be honest. Hunters are not really that busted, but there's a lot of builds you can make with any subclass. I mean, you have, of course, something like Bombardiers, which is gonna blind the target whenever I dodge near them. So, Bombardiers is really slept on if you know how to actually use it. The problem is you have to get really close to the target. And for his screen, he is blind for around 5 seconds. Which, I mean, I think that's really good. But, you know, some people might not like it. And you also have this. You can, of course, increase the stuff so you deal more scorch to targets, which I'm not going to show off. But I've seen someone ignite 6 people with this, which I think is really, really stupid. It also does the same thing on Void. It suppresses on Void, so they can't use any abilities for, you know, that many seconds. And depending on how close they are suppressed for really long. He was now just suppressed for 7 seconds. Of course, Revenant does their stuff, so you can, like... And he is severed, whatever that means. He gave me free watermelon, and let's just move on to Titan. No, Titans, it's really just all about knockout for at least Arc Titan. Shoulder Charge is getting the nerf needed next season. Behemoth has some silly stuff I'm not gonna share with the class today. And then Sentinel has Bastion, and you know, these, I don't know, Strand Titan suspends shit and it's really annoying. And then Solar Titan has something called Consecration. I love Consecration. It's probably one of the most coolest things in the game. Now, you don't see Consecration a lot in PvP, mainly because Solar Titan is just so mid. But what it can do is instantly kill someone, and it's really goofy. I mean, you have something like Crest of Alpalupi that's gonna... You also have something like Crest of Alpalupi that's... Okay, bro. You also have something like Crest of Alpalupi that's gonna heal you on your barricade pop. But honestly, I think some of the most annoying exotics in the game is gonna be something like Antia's wards on, you know, a rapid fire fusion rifle. Because what I can do, and I think this is a little bit silly if you ask me, is run something like this fusion rifle. Of course, a lot of weapons in this game is your own choice, but I'm just letting you know that these frames are a little bit stronger than normal. And so I want you to know that you should probably take a note of that and start using the living shit out of them so they get nerfed. Because that's kind of what I want. Now, of course, I've not shown anything too crazy because this is just a PM, so I'm just showing it off. And now I have an shield, and now he's dead. This weapon can kill a... Guys, I think the bot died.